Good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. I'm Justin Coffin. Joe Danier across from me. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025.
You had to check on that, didn't you?
So it's just so nice. And it's actually nice outside. The weather just puts you in a good mood. I will say today, though, I was in a little bit of a bad mood. So downtown Youngstown, it has its flaws, but I'm mainly speaking of the streets and the roadways. So obviously this time of year we got a lot of potholes. The lights. I usually come from Boardman, straight shot down Market Street, make the turn. We're down here in the Commerce Building, and so I don't know when this was, last week or 2 weeks ago. This morning I got a speeding ticket. And guess how fast I was going on my speeding ticket? 28 miles an hour.
How do you get a speeding ticket going 20
Apparently
miles?
I was in a school zone and I had no idea. So 28 miles an hour, $100 ticket. So, I mean, do I even fight that? I feel like, if I was doing I understand what a speed limit is and why we have it, but
all right,
that seems
let me try to help you organize it so you at
Yeah.
least feel better. It sucks. Like every time you get a speeding ticket, you
It
get
was
the
camera
ones
one,
you get the
obviously.
ones that you really are suspect deserving of,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. No.
But there are
for sure
50 times that you were in a hurry and you got away with the speeding ticket. So take the $100 speeding ticket for the school zone and move it into one of those areas where you probably
That's
deserved
fair.
it, and then you'll feel better.
I'm trying to even think where there is a school zone, though. I know there's a lot of schools off of Market Street, but it was kind of frustrating. So either way, that's a good way to look at it, though.
Yeah, there you go.
So puts me in a not as shitty of
and
a
you can use that for more than speeding tickets. If you committed murder and you got away with it, and then you get tagged with something you didn't even do,
There's
like
been a lot of murder talk on your on your plate the last couple of weeks, but we'll move on from the speeding. But yeah, take what you got away with, and
because karma delivers. So you're like, you know what, I got the speeding ticket. It was just due to me. It's like Final Destination. It's going to visit you, and it's going to be in the weirdest ways possible.
So I'll just take the $100, eat it, and be like, whatever.
When you get those photo enforcement ones,
that's
do you pay
what it
any
was.
of them? Seriously?
That's what it was.
Oh.
Yeah, no, if this was getting pulled over by a cop.
Do not pay that shit.
Okay, so
I've got a stack of them like this, right?
Well, when you go to renew your license, though,
bullshit. No, it's fake. They're fake. Don't pay them.
All right, we'll talk more about that after the show.
What? No legal advice? You don't want to tell everybody.
Legal advice by Joe.
No, any photo enforcement things, don't pay that shit. It's a racket.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what this one was. So
don't pay.
Came in the mail. All right. Very good. Good to know. Noted. All right. Here's what we're really going to talk about on the show today. The Cavaliers are absolutely. I put red hot. They're like white hot. Is white hotter than red?
Yes.
Okay. So they are white hot. It is March. We're going to talk a little bit about, Joe and I are going to do a March Madness bracket of high school weird mascots. And just in the states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Michigan, and then one from West Virginia. So I put a 16-team bracket together. You're going to advance them, and I'm going to advance them, and we're going to see what we think. I put some time into this, so I think it should be kind of fun. We've done the Where Are You Sitting on the Plane before. This time we're going to do it Cleveland Sports Edition and see what you guys think. We are going to talk about the Browns. Maybe we'll get into the Guardians. I'm not sure, depending on time, but they are obviously out in training camp in Arizona, Ohio State, YSU, all kinds of good stuff going on right now. But that is kind of what's on the docket while we get going. But on Sunday night, the Oscars, was on, and I caught Conan's monologue, which was pretty good. But the one thing I took away from that was the guy that won the best supporting actor in a movie, A Real Pain, was Fuller from Home Alone. And obviously that is Macaulay Culkin's real brother, but Fuller finally gets his Oscar, and hopefully
Good.
he didn't wet the bed that night and drinking too many Pepsis. But good for Fuller. The Academy Awards is obviously an awesome celebration of movies and what people do. I find I usually don't see many of those movies that are out. The Golden Globes is more my speed, with like the TV shows and stuff in there. But like, how many of this year's movies? I know you have opinions on Wicked. I know you have opinions on other movies, but like there's some good ones out there. There's some ones that I'll probably never even see or have any interest in seeing. But I couldn't even tell you what was nominated for Best Picture because I really didn't look into it. But any thoughts on the Academy Awards? Like, is that your vibe on movies or not so much?
Am I allowed to be mean?
Oh, you can be as mean as you want.
All right, so let's just say the Pro Bowl is made up of like all the elite athletes and everybody knows their name. But then they had a different celebration. They had it called the Practice Field Bowl.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's like all the people we didn't know anything about, right?
Yeah.
Never even really played on the field.
Yeah.
And that is what they celebrate during these award ceremonies. It's
Sure.
what they want you to like.
Yeah.
But it's garbage, trash, whatever. And they give them awards for it.
And I can understand that. Like, to me, it doesn't really like fit in to like the most popular genre. It's a lot of like artsy type movies and stuff a lot of times. And like you said, that's kind of what the narrative is being pushed there. I would like if more like comedies or horrors or thrillers got in the mix there too. And sometimes they are, but most of the time it's not, the average moviegoers, experience.
Well, even like Rotten Tomatoes, like if you look at critics are garbage on there. Like there's not, if it has a great viewer score and a terrible critic score, that's a movie I know I'm gonna enjoy.
That's a good
if
point.
It's reversed, right?
Right.
I would challenge anybody to watch all of the critically acclaimed movies. See if you can watch all of them that they recommend and not die by the end of it. Get $1 million. It should be some kind of challenge.
Absolutely.
Garbage movie $1 million challenge.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Good deal. I like it. I like it. Yeah,
no,
that's fine. And then next year I'll put a little bit more time into actually maybe studying those. But this was just a real quick hot take. Dave, the movie, sports, TV, and movies group. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Oh, they're a movie group?
I think so.
Dude,
I think so.
like
TV and movies.
Okay, comment. And if somebody follows these, like I want somebody who follows these opinion of what they feel about these award ceremonies.
Yeah, so Dave,
please definitely comment.
So Dave, you or anybody in the group, if you have any opinions on, those movies from the Academy Awards, especially this weekend, drop some thoughts because we would
when you key in on entertainment shows and movies, because you're batting 1,000 with me. What do you gravitate to? How do you pick those ones? Is it just chance? Or
well, a lot of times I like what's popular. I do like what's popular, but sometimes there's some sleepers in there. Like last year, I thought that Dark Matter was. I thought Presumed Innocent was a little bit of a sleeper, and that became real popular. But I don't know. I mean, I have my genres of things I like. I like action. I like suspense. I like a little bit of comedy. I like a little bit of horror. I'm not like extreme horror, extreme ridiculous comedy. I'm kind of like in between. So I am probably a pretty easy target for what the demographic of what a Netflix or an Apple TV
the
is
traditional plot development and character development. Do you like the traditional, or do you like when ones go off in left field and do it completely different?
I think to be invested in the story, you got to like the character. So I think character development is huge. That's why a show like Succession was so awesome. That's why Game of Thrones and stuff like that is, because you actually care about if the characters live or die, or like, have consequences to their actions and stuff like that. You're kind of like sometimes rooted, like in a Breaking Bad, you're rooting for Walter White, even though he's like a villain. Yeah. Or Tony Soprano.
Some stories like Ned Stark in the beginning, you buy into a character and they kill them off. Yeah. What if they would have killed off Dexter? Oh, damn it. What if they would have killed off what's his name in Breaking Bad?
Yeah, right.
The main characters. Like, could you follow the story still when your character is off?
I mean, if you like the show enough, yeah. If you invest in a show enough that you like it, and it's, most shows are an hour long once a week. or like Netflix drops them all, all 8 to 10 of them in a, and maybe you watch it over the week, a course of a week or two. But for me, it's like, we talked about this last week. I like that week drop. I like HBO, or now Max, has been known for that. It's like Sunday night prestige type show, which right now is The White Lotus. Coming up will be The Last of Us coming up soon. So it's like, to me, those shows capture my attention. It's kind of appointment viewing for me because there's other things I'm interested in listening to or watching. And maybe I'll watch a YouTube video on like elements you might have missed during the show, and like might lead you to not conspiracy theories, but like different theories about the show and where it's going. So to me, that's interesting.
Like The Walking Dead,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of broke off from where the comic books went with the characters because they became so damn popular.
What was that noise?
It's this computer.
Okay.
That's my fault. I'll disconnect it if it moves. Anyway, so but now if they were, I don't blame them for keeping characters that were beloved because it gave it 20 seasons.
Yeah, right.
Had they killed that character and had to recreate a new version of that character with somebody else, it might have been like a 5-season run because most audiences, once their person dies, like they're out. Like,
yeah, but it's, I mean, the thing that's different between TV and movies is like a movie, there's not that much commitment to it. You pay your $15, you go have a popcorn or whatever at the movies, you watch for 2 hours, then you're out. But like a TV show, if you're not invested, like it's a long ride. If you just like right now, there's one show I'm watching that I'm not like totally it's kind of lost me after a little bit of season 2. It's called Yellow Jackets, and like it's kind of lost my interest. So
I bailed out on it too.
So it's kind of just like
had a great premise in the beginning,
and maybe it'll come back. But right now, I'm kind of like, I have a lot going on right now. I have 3 shows I'm watching that are all airing over, consecutively right now, and it's like, that's as much as I can invest, in time. And it's like, if that's the 4th show, it's like, I gotta make time somewhere. So, I'm not cutting, I'm definitely not cutting Severance. No pun intended. I'm not cutting, The White Lotus, and I'm not cutting, Paradise. Those are the 3 I'm watching right now. So,
all right, Dave responded. If you want to,
the critics are only interested in pushing the narrative and earning a wage. I'm sorry. I believe that the Oscars would be based on real moviegoers' opinions who spend their money on watching movies. I mean, not wrong.
It's a business.
Yeah,
it really is.
Wrong.
But do you think it's more lucrative if a critic pushes on a movie that is like undervalued and they give it traction, where they could be rewarded because they
I don't like that.
Yeah. Versus like one that's got a big marketing budget anyway, and they don't really need the critics' reviews to make it big, and they don't need them as much.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's like, it's just like with anything else. You as a viewer have to decide, is that worth my time or not? Is that worth my dollar or not?
But you got to admit, half of those critically acclaimed movies, if you found out after you watched it that some college artist put it together as their capstone project, you would not be surprised.
No. And I'm not, and I don't want to like cut their legs out.
No, cut it.
Because a lot of these films are really well done. It's just not for me. You know what I'm saying? So maybe
you're being so kind.
But there's sometimes that with books or music though. There's some people that love certain types of music or love certain types of like literature, and it's like, that's just not for everybody.
That's
so exactly. So
how do you feel about Severance, since you brought it up a couple of times? They're doing a lot of timeline jumping that's getting a little difficult to follow where they're headed and where they're going.
Yeah.
They do a good job of like changing some visuals to give you keys that they're in a different timeline, but it's getting downright confusing.
So I'll try to do this without any spoilers, but like Severance to me right now is the best show out there. Like White Lotus is close, but it's a totally different type show. If you don't know Severance, it's a mystery box show, and it's kind of it kind of answers certain questions, so it keeps you engaged. without you knowing what the hell is still going on as they move the plot forward. But you're right. There's a lot of time jumps back, a lot of time jumps forward. One of the main characters that we haven't seen in like 2.5 years because the show was off for 2 years, what the writer's strike and stuff. They finally brought her back and you kind of got her backstory. So it was kind of interesting and neat to do that. And there's a lot of like philosophical questions like, are these people really alive? Are they dead? Are they?
Is this the innie? Is this the outie?
Exactly. So, yeah, if anyone has not watched Severance, go watch it. It is, they're about an hour episodes, and I think, I think there's 10 episodes this season. There was 9 in the first season.
The way that I describe it to people who haven't seen it yet is if you watch Lost.
Yes.
So I was really into Lost at the time too. The problem was that Lost lasted a really long time and it had lots of different writers who decided to keep switching tracks and never answering questions.
Yeah.
Where Severance has the mystery of Lost, but it's been congruent where there's some continuity and where the storylines go and the mysteries get ultimately answered. There won't be like a polar bear that appears and you're like, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
And you never effing find out what it was.
Right.
You know?
And there's so many things that, they take a lot of pride with, like, they take the best elements of Lost and put it in Severance.
For sure.
They take like two of the main characters in their outie lives are academic people. And, they're reading Tolstoy and stuff like that. But there's a lot of like underlying elements that they mix in there and sprinkle in there. So if you're not looking, you're going to miss the fine details of things. But it is so, so good because they're hinting to you at what's coming. But you really have to be like in tune to the show to see what's coming next. So highly, highly recommend it. And I think maybe a future spin-off podcast we can do is like week to week episode breakdowns or something like that. I think that would be great because that way we're not like spoiling things without people like looking for that content, because there's a lot of great content in that show. So go watch Severance if you have not.
Smart people wrote it, and that you can always tell when there was some thought put into the plot.
And 2 other shows that really highly went into Severance. Obviously, you mentioned Lost, and then there's another show called The Leftovers that was also an HBO like big time show that not a lot of people, I would say probably 10% of the people that watched Lost watched The Leftovers, but The Leftovers is a way like almost too intelligent written show, but it was so good and so weird and so awesome. So that's what makes Severance awesome, is it's so weird and so good, but you can't take your eyes off of it. So, and it's coming off the 2 maybe best episodes of its run. So it's peaking at the right time right now. So definitely go watch it.
Can I get some help from you? Like this is where I bounce these off of you and you help guide me.
Okay.
So I'm now taking Blake Lively and taking her off of my crush list, and I'm shopping a new crush, and I'm not quite certain because I picked Blake Lively so long ago.
Okay.
And she's just been ridden at that spot forever.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's just too much drama, too much.
So
whatever.
You're talking about like It Ends With Us, like the whole movie.
That is exactly. It ends with us right now.
So it ends with Blake at that movie. And
but I need a new one. And I don't know that I've found like any properly aged, good looking actresses.
Yeah, because like Sydney Sweeney's a little too young.
Right. I wouldn't
like,
feel good about
depends
that
on if you're into blondes or brunettes or, certain races or demographics or whatever. So
do you have any recommendations? Because I'm still shopping, but I wanted to see if
so if you're looking at the White Lotus right now, there are 3. I don't even know what you'd call them, but there's a group of 3 women. And one is Carrie Coon, who's from Northeast Ohio. She has played amazing characters. The other one's Michelle Monaghan, and the other one's Leslie Bibb, I believe is her name. But they're like basically the same age, maybe a little bit older than us. I would say in their mid to late 40s. But that's a good group right there.
All right, so here's the
not your Sydney Sweeney, but
here's the prerequisites. So like when you watch an actress kind of grow up in movies, you get to know the innocence that they are.
Yes.
And you get crushed that way, right?
Sure.
And that's what Blake Lively. She played all of those young. I think the first movie. What's the first movie I even saw her in? What's that one where they open a school, and it's a fictitious school?
Mm.
You remember that one?
Oh yes. Like Accepted.
Yes.
Accepted?
That's like one of
Okay.
the first
Yeah.
I saw her in.
Okay.
And she did it for me. Like,
Yeah.
The role she played.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that in a modern actress of somebody who I'm like, that's somebody I would totally date had it not been married.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like I'm not. I don't know everyone's age because sometimes they look 10 years younger than they really are.
As long as they're not like, Joe's rubbing the cradle thing. Like anything above that, what's reasonable is
so
fair.
You and I are not single guys, but like my friend who recently, about 2-3 years ago went through a divorce, and he had a role. He said half plus 8 was his role. Okay. So whatever his age was, and I think when this was happening, he was 39. So half, let's call it 20 plus 8. So he could go up. So his minimum age was 28 at that time.
Okay.
So 39, 28. That's not that bad. But so his age would be, 28 and above. Now that he's 42, it would be 21 plus 8. Oh, only 1 year older, 29. So so the math worked for him on that one, but that was his philosophy. But maybe you could put that for your mathematical algorithm into actresses.
Yeah, and it plays such a small role because obviously I'm married and I'm not romantically shopping.
Well,
way.
This is.
But when
just
a
for
crush
fun.
disappears, right, you almost have to fill that void somehow.
I'm trying to think who who's like the it girl in maybe Dave, if he's still watching, can answer that. But like who's like the it girl right now with actresses? So there's so many awesome ones out there. But it depends. Maybe you're into an Alexandria Daddario, or there's
who is the dragon queen?
Well,
Targaryen.
Well, Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of her name in real life. But yeah, she
might be
Emilia Clarke, I think, is her name.
I'm gonna look her
Emilia Clarke is her name. So while Joe's looking this up, I had no plans of going. Like, I think I'm on not even topic 1 of what we were supposed to talk to about today, which is usually how this show goes. So what's her age? I'm curious. I'm gonna guess she's like 35.
All right.
Let's see.
What's her name?
Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke.
So once again, while Joe's looking this up, here's really what we were going to talk about. We will get to the Cavs here in a minute. We're going to go through a bracket.
Not a real blonde? What is up with that?
Oh no, she's a brunette.
Really?
Hey, just look at her eyebrows.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, she's 38.
Okay.
38, born in 1986.
All right, there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Blake Lively, Emilia Clarke, official.
Yeah, Emilia Clarke. I mean, and she's been in a lot of other good stuff. She was in a weird movie called Last Christmas. So if you're looking for a good Christmas movie next year, Last Christmas. It's a little different, but it's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, she'll always be known as Daenerys Targaryen. So, and not too bad. But yeah, you could totally tell she's not a natural blonde.
It's just weird to look at it without the blondness.
Yeah. That's, but that's what she's known for. So,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to, this is kind of a celebrity question.
Yeah.
And kind of an animal question. So this is which one's worse? So this came up. Oh, Scarlett Johansson.
Oh,
didn't even think about
that.
Scarlett
Is the
Johansson.
consideration, right
and
there.
She is married actually to Colin Jost, who hosts SNL, does the Weekend Update. But yeah, she is, and she is going to be the big time star in the Jurassic Park movie coming up this summer. All right, real quick. Here's a hypothetical that came across my mind this weekend. So this weekend, the Columbus Blue Jackets hosted the Detroit Red Wings, but they played in the outdoor hockey series. They had 95,000 people at the Horseshoe in Columbus for this outdoor hockey game, which was awesome. But Kirk Herbstreit. We've talked about Kirk Herbstreit before on the show. Kirk Herbstreit has maybe the world's most famous dog right now. So his dog, he kind of takes him everywhere. He's on the set of game day. He's on the set of Thursday Night Football, a lot of whatever game he's doing in college football. Now, he took the dog with him to the Columbus Blue Jackets game. And of course, they're, right on the glass there. So here's a picture. This is Peter Herbstreit. Peter Herbstreit. I put, he is a good boy, but his name should only be Peter. What's worse, a dog with a first and last name, or musicians and celebrities that only go by one name? So the examples I'd put, and there's way more: Madonna, Sting, Bono, Beyonce. Those are just like the four that popped to mind. But Peter Herbstreit, first of all, again, I love dogs. I'm an animal lover, and that is a cute ass dog. But Peter Herbstreit, let's call him Peter. That's his name.
I'm with you.
In no way did a female Herbstreit birth him out, of their, let's just say, did they birth him?
You're gonna get yourself in a bunch
I was. So we're gonna stop there. So in no way was Peter birthed by a female Herbstreit. So he was not I guess you could always say a dog is a member of the family, which they are, but his name is Peter. It's not Peter Herbstreit. But Madonna has a last name. Don't know what it is. Sting, I mean, sure, that's his stage name, but still, that's how he's known. Bono, I don't know Bono's last name, and whatever. And then Beyonce Knowles, I know, obviously, but she is known as Beyonce. So what is worse to you? A dog going by two names, first and last name, or a celebrity going by one name?
I'm going with the pet.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Because I guess from a marketing purpose, if you're known by one name, I mean, go with it, right? So, but like, I don't know. You don't have any pets, do you?
No.
So I mean, I had a dog named Sookie. I would not call her Sookie Coffin. I'm like, no. My sister, sometimes, who's a huge animal person, she was the president of animal charity and stuff like that. She'll go, oh, she has two dogs, Larry and Savvy. And she'll be like, oh, Larry, it's your Uncle Justin. I'm like, stop that. No, I am not the dog's uncle. I love the dog, but, come on. So I don't know where you draw the lines. Maybe it's just me being too much with that, but I don't know.
Think of the practicality. Okay, so stage names and only using your first name protect you from the crazies that become your fanatics, right?
Yeah, right.
And so you don't want to give your name up and they to look you up on Google Maps and find out where you live. So that absolutely makes sense, branding around the name. There's no practicality in giving a dog a last name.
No.
It's not collecting Social Security.
Nope.
It's not going to go out and get a job. It can have a first name without any repercussions whatsoever.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And it's a little bit pompous.
It is.
It's a little bit like, hey, I'm very important. This dog's going to take my last name. Let's put it on the... No, just call the dog Peter. So no offense, Herbie, but this one, I mean, let's just call the dog Peter, not Peter Herbstreit. And maybe that's not his decision.
What about names like King, whatever, or like giving it Doctor or whatever, giving it sort of like credentials?
If it's like oh, no, that's bad too.
Okay.
No.
Making it the lead of your family.
If you're doing it like a play on words, like with your name, like let's say your name was Seuss, last name was Seuss.
That's doctors.
And you name your dog Dr. Seuss. Okay.
Makes sense.
That's funny. I get it.
Yes.
But like, come on. No, like anything else, I think that's dumb. So just my opinion. Thought I'd share that. Okay. Let's stay in Columbus, but kind of move to Indianapolis. This is going to transition into a little bit of Ohio State, but a little bit of Cleveland Browns talk here. But this past week was the combine in Indianapolis. 15 Ohio State players were invited. Dang. 15. So the record for most players drafted by one school in a single year is Georgia. It'd be 3 years ago now, 15. The Ohio State record is 14, which was way back in 2004. Now, here's the players that were, invited to the combine: Josh Simmons, Jack Sawyer, Abuka, Tyleik Williams, JT Tuamoluau, Travion Henderson, Denzel Burke, Quinshon Judkins, Donovan Jackson, Lathan Ransom, Cody Simon, Will Howard, Jordan Hancock, Seth McLaughlin, Ty Hamilton. And then, so those guys were invited. G. Scott Jr. and Josh Fryer were not invited, but I have a feeling they are going to get drafted. So if you total that up, that is 17 players that are draft eligible for the Buckeyes. I think 15 are a lock. So I'm going to put the over under at 15 and a half. I want to know over or under how many Buckeyes get drafted in about, what is it? About 7 weeks from now. So that's where we're at right now. But here's again the list. Two guys could have went and got drafted, Sonny Styles and Davison Igbinosun, but they returned to Ohio State this year. So that's a list. I'm going to say over, and I think 16, hopefully all 17 get drafted. And we actually had, this was going back about 2 years now, but G. Scott Sr. joined us on the podcast from Seattle a few years back. So hoping his son gets drafted this year for the Buckeyes. But the Buckeyes are going to at least tie the record, in my opinion, this year. So, and with that said, the best offensive player in the country and the best defensive player in the country still return to Ohio State in 2025 in Caleb Downs, the junior, and Jeremiah Smith, the only sophomore wide receiver. So these two, by a lot of NFL draft pick experts, they say these guys would both be top 5 players in the draft this year. And Jeremiah Smith might even be the number 1 overall player, only having played 1 year of college football. So it's nice. So Ohio State will hopefully get him for 2 more full seasons. All right. So, Joe, we've talked about the 2 quarterbacks very briefly, but the 2 main guys the Browns are going to be looking at that number 2 pick are either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I believe you're on record saying you would take Abdul Carter if you could take the best player available. Yes. Some people would be in the Travis Hunter camp. Let's hypothetically just say the Browns are sticking at 2 and they take a quarterback. Now, let me throw these 2 up here. So Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. Here's their season numbers. Now, keep in mind, Cam Ward was on a more balanced offensive team with a lot more talent. Shedeur Sanders, basically, in his 2 years at Colorado, took that team from one of the worst Division 1A teams, FCS teams, to a 9-win team this year. And obviously playing for his father, Deion Sanders. But those are the numbers. Both threw for about, over 4,000 yards, both near 40 touchdowns, and a pretty good touchdown to interception ratio. Shedeur Sanders is more of the accurate passer. A lot of checkdowns and stuff in there, but more of an accurate passer. And then Cam Ward, more of the athletic guy that's going to get after it. But if you had to pick one of those 2 quarterbacks for the Browns, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, do you take the more athletic upside guy that could be a bust, or do you take maybe the safer pick, better accuracy, maybe better fit, but maybe not quite as the upside as Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders? So Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, if you are Andrew Berry and you're handing in the number 2 pick, saying both are available, hypothetically, which guy are you picking?
Cam Ward all day.
You think Cam Ward?
And I think because Shedeur Sanders is going to be a problematic, outspoken person who's going to talk shit anytime they can, plus his freaking dad. And we do not need anybody shit posting about the Browns while he's trying to make his way on this Browns.
Okay.
So if we can get a quiet, game managing, little bit of upside, boring quarterback while we build everything else, that's my pick.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So Joe is on the Cam Ward train. I think Cam Ward has the higher upside for sure, and could be definitely the bigger boom in this draft. I think the Browns, and this is a time for another podcast, we'll save this, but I think the Browns have to take a quarterback here. And if they do, I actually think I'm in the Cam Ward. So I'm going to answer this 2 different ways. I think Cam Ward would be the better quarterback, but I think Shedeur Sanders might be the better fit for the Browns. So I think the Browns would, in theory, take Sanders over Ward, even though Ward might be the better quarterback. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting
I won't be
thing.
mad.
Yeah.
Right. It'll be one of those things where I won't.
I'm not mad. I'm
surprised.
just disappointed.
Yeah. Disappointed in you. And I'll give
Yeah.
my dad eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
All right. Exactly. Yeah. The disappointed mom or dad look.
Yeah.
But
Good luck with that.
but
I
I
hope you
think
don't
either
fail.
I think either one of these guys can win at the NFL level.
Yeah.
I really do.
I do.
Shedeur Sanders is not the freaky athletic guy, but he played behind a terrible offensive line. They ran the ball the least amount in the country, so there was no threat for the run at Colorado. And again, I know Dion coming, that there's some red flags there. I actually had some red flags with Shedeur Sanders back in the season, but listening to him talk and the way he presents himself, I actually think like he might be better than people think. So
what happened? Okay, so let's just say you bring in Sanders, and like his dad is a very inspiring guy.
Yeah,
he's outspoken, but he's got a lot of wisdom in him.
Sure, yeah.
So you automatically get a very hardcore motivator along with that pick. So maybe that quarterback room, the quarterback's coach almost gets a back seat, where this dad that's yelling over the banister over there is actually like, holy shit, like everybody in this room is better because dad over there.
Obviously the dad's going to want the best for his son, but he's also got a team of his own at Colorado to worry about too. So the Browns are, Kevin Stefanski is known as a quarterback guy. Like they tried to mold his system to fit Deshaun Watson. Didn't work. And, we'll see. Obviously, I think the Browns have moved on from them. I think the Browns are going to draft a quarterback at number 2 and sign a veteran, possibly Kirk Cousins, possibly someone else.
Stafford.
But, Stafford's off the table.
Is he really?
He's going to stay in LA. He's going to stay in LA. He's going to be off the table, unfortunately. But, I think the possible options are still you maybe still have Justin Fields, but I think he's going to stay with the Steelers. But I think the two options would either be Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins. Those are the two. I think the ship has sailed with Jameis Winston. I think the ship has sailed with Joe Flacco. But I don't know,
Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers
he's still out there.
He's so weird. I don't know. Like I'd be fine if he wants to come in, but he's not going to be the guy that's going to say like all men are Cam Ward or all men are Shedeur Sanders. No, he didn't want to. He didn't want to do that with Jordan Love in Green Bay. Didn't want to do that in New York, and kind of had I don't know. He's probably not all bad because there's a lot of teammates that love him. But it is what it is with him. So if Aaron Rodgers wants to come to Cleveland for a year or two, hopefully end his career on a good note, I'm sure the Browns would welcome him with 100%. Open arms. But it's like, what's he going to want on the open market? Like he's had obviously an injured full season 2 years ago. Last season was a bad year. But it's like, what does he want? But financially?
Maybe the Jets humbled him a little bit, and maybe his asking price might be a little lower.
Yeah, and maybe he wants to end his career on a good note. And where do quarterbacks come to succeed? The Cleveland Browns,
for sure. Like so many renowned quarterbacks.
So we'll see, but hopefully we can end that cycle of bad quarterback play that we've had some moments.
But they do say that ayahuasca will rewire things and give you the great reset.
Yeah.
So maybe Aaron is just ayahuasca for the whole team.
Maybe his ayahuasca trip this year will lead him to Cleveland and show the Browns the way, and the Lake Erie Monster will come out and help the Browns.
Yes.
Yes. Help the Browns on a successful season. So here are some other rookie quarterbacks. These are the top 11 rookies based on multiple scouting reports. So obviously the two top guys we talked about, Sanders and Ward. Jackson Dart is right there at Ole Miss. Quinn Ewers from Texas. Jalen Milroe is probably the most athletic, but also he's like a boomer bust guy. Riley Leonard from Notre Dame. Will Howard from Ohio State. Will Howard did not have a good combine performance, but he also won a national championship, and you could
That helps.
sometimes it's like how much versus what they do on the field versus like what they show at a combine. There's Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback, played at Syracuse. Dylan Gabriel, the Oregon quarterback. Curtis Rourke from Indiana, and Tyler Schau from Louisville, who is your Brandon Whedon of this draft, who started at Oregon and then got injured, transferred out, and then had a nice career, but is also, I think he's 25 or 26 years old coming into
The
it.
Browns picked him.
I mean,
I am done with them.
If the,
I'm
if the
done.
Browns took him in the fourth
No,
round, whatever,
Dude,
I'll
no,
take
I'm
a flyer.
Like, I am no longer a Cleveland Browns fan. I'm revoked.
Tyler Schau is what would
That
do
does
it
it.
for
It's
you.
done.
That's what would do it for you.
I'm telling you, that happens, and the card is revoked.
So Joe is putting his foot down
right now.
He's accepted Deshaun Watson. He's accepted Brandon Whedon, Johnny Football. But if the Browns take Tyler Schau,
Done.
what if they take him in the 5th round?
I'm done. It doesn't matter. I don't care if he was an undrafted free agent.
Oh,
Done.
wow. Okay.
Done.
All right.
Done.
All right. Tyler Schau is where we draw the limit here.
Yeah,
So.
there's so many better picks. Like, you literally have 270 picks. There's only one that undoes it, right? That's
Tyler
it.
Schau.
One.
So he is not on Joe's draft board.
No.
Maybe he's on Andrew Berry's. I don't know.
Andrew, please.
Andrew's listening to this and be like, oh, well, we can't lose Joe as a fan. So we're kind of losing
He
fans.
struck
left
it
and
out
right
now.
And speaking of striking things out in Cleveland and one of our favorite movies,
Whoa.
here are people to run out of Cleveland. Jamie Collins already ran out of town. Hugh Jackson gone. Andrew Sandejo, remember him? John Johnson III, he's gone. Oh, Anthony Schwartz. Anthony Schwartz still might be the reason the Browns didn't keep Baker Mayfield, because he cut his route short in a game in 2022, and then Baker had to go make the tackle and an interception and then hurt his shoulder, thus leading to a series of bad decisions. Jed Wills Jr. is a free agent. The Browns have not brought him back, and hopefully they don't bring him back. So hopefully we can scratch that name off soon. Deshaun Watson, I think he's going to be on IR this year and then cut loose next year. And then Andrew Berry, we'll see. I'm still in the camp of, I think Andrew Berry can get it done. Are you?
Yeah.
You still have hope for Andrew Berry?
Andrew Berry,
but not if he drafts Tyler Schau.
Dude, he's dead to me. Like, every single person is dead to me.
Okay.
So what's the quote about? I'm so glad I
called that guy. Boy, am I glad I called that guy. And then it's just waving. So for anyone listening on podcast, that was what's that guy's name? He was a Boardwalk Empire, Steve Buscemi.
Yes,
Steve Buscemi. So what a great, a very underrated cameo in Happy Gilmore. So love it. Last year, I did not put together an updated list, but March Madness is starting soon, and I want to give you real quick and we're just jumping all over the board today.
That's what we do.
So last year I put together the best names of college basketball, because we do it every year for college football. But last year I did it for college basketball and forgot to post it. So I went through my list, and here was the best names in college basketball last year. And then I'll update this hopefully in the next couple weeks. So last year, the top 5 starters: Chris Cross, Always Right, Tennessee Rainwater, St. Thomas, and Golden Dyke. Those would be your starting 5. Always Right was a guard out of Rhode Island. Supreme Cook, how about that name?
That's
out
good.
of Georgetown. Here's my favorite one: Jizzle James. Jizzle James. And you know who Jizzle James's dad is? Remember Edgerrin James?
Yes,
That's his son. So that's a throwback there. How about Connor Dubsky? It's kind of a cool name. Enoch Cheeks, also from Dayton. Let's see who else we got here. A Million Bugs. That's from Hutchinson Community College. Boo Bowie, a guard from Northwestern. Tony.
you almost have to do that one.
Yeah, exactly. Churchill Bounce.
Okay.
George Washington III was out of Michigan. Rocket Watts, a guard out of Oakland, who's in Youngstown State's conference. Legend Geeter. As long as it's not Legend Skeeter, that would have been better. Wooga Poplar, guard out of Miami. How about Po Boy King, guard out of NC Central? And then, as we mentioned, Golden Dyke, a center out of Loyola. So
It's good. Poor guys.
They're just kind of fun.
Poor guys.
Kind of fun, yeah. names are always such an interesting thing. But that's what you're
But
born.
when you get to a certain level and you're going to take on a public persona,
yeah,
like you can change those things,
oh yeah.
right?
Well, it might also help with NIL now too. Like if you like a million bugs, what a weird name.
You'll
But
remember
like
it forever.
maybe he catches on with a like extermination service where he can get an NIL deal. Like there was a guy, Dakotas Crawford, who signed an NIL deal with an HVAC company. So it's like, but if you're like that end of the bench guy, I don't know.
And if it's not complimentary, you're Dick Trickle, right? And
Right.
then you're going by Richard, right?
Right,
Richard
right.
Trickle is way better. I mean, you could fill in the blanks.
I don't
and still
know.
be
Dick
funny.
Trickle's pretty awesome. Like, I mean, you don't want to be the butt of every joke or the dick of every joke in this sense. But if that's your name, you got to rock. It's kind of one of those things. That's what you're born with. You got to rock it.
Po' boy, isn't that like a food?
I think po' boy's like a long, skinny, like subtype sandwich, isn't it?
So my favorite food, my son comes out, I'm like, that's po' boy.
Okay, yeah.
Po' boy.
Yeah, po' boy. Po' boy, what's his name? Po' boy King, too. Yeah, like,
all right, keep it. I retract my criticism. Keep it.
Po' boy King would be that'd be a great name for a sandwich.
Heck yeah.
So okay. All right, let's move on to another basketball note that's also going well right now. The Cleveland Cavaliers, real quick, let's fire through some of these. 50-10. They are the 12th team in NBA history to start a season with 50 or more wins through their first 60 games in the NBA season. They are currently on a 10-game winning streak right now. They have the top 3 winning streaks in the Eastern Conference this season. To start the year, 15 games. And then in the middle of the season, they had a 12-gamer from December 13th to January 9th. They are, like I said, a current 10-game winning streak. The New York Knicks had a 9-game winning streak. That is the next closest in the Eastern Conference this season. DeAndre Hunter has been the perfect piece the Cavs have been missing this season. We'll get to some of his numbers in a minute, but look at the Cavs' top 5 players and their ages. Darius Garland, 25 years old. Donovan Mitchell, 28 years old. DeAndre Hunter, 27. Evan Mobley, 23. Jared Allen, 26 years old. DeAndre Hunter has played 8 games since the Cavs traded for him. They are 8-0, number 1 in offense, number 1 in defense, number 1 in net rating, rebounds per game, and bench points per game. He is 25 of 42 from the three-point line, 60%. Just scored like 32 points in an overtime win the other night, and 16 points per game in those 8 games coming off the bench for the Cavs. They are still number 1 offensive rated team in the NBA, number 6 defensive, the number 2 net rating behind only OKC, who is playing at an unbelievable clip this year. But the Cavs still have the best record in all of basketball. And their last 2 games this past weekend, Friday night at Boston, they were down 25-3 to start that game, came back and won it. And then they were down against Portland on Sunday at home, come back and win that game in overtime. A quick Donovan Mitchell note. Donovan Mitchell has now averaged 30.8 points per game, 4.9 assists, 4.9 rebounds in 20 games in his career against the Boston Celtics. That is the highest points per game versus the Celtics of any player ever, passing Michael Jordan. So pretty elite company there. Ty Jerome should be the 6th man of the year. Had a huge game. Donovan Mitchell sat out on Sunday, but Ty Jerome stepped in, still comes off the bench, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 6 steals, which is that's youth league basketball numbers there. All right, Joe.
Yo.
So before we did kind of a sports, all-encompassing sports flight, and where would you want to sit, in an empty seat. So I decided let's do a Cleveland one. Let's just do all Cleveland sports, open seat, and I made them all the middle seats. So you got to sit in the middle seat regardless. I'm going to put that up here right now. And so here you got to pick your seat assignment. So are you taking number 1 in between Kevin Stefanski and Jared Allen? Are you taking number 2 in between Myles Garrett, Emmanuel Clase? Are you taking number 3 in between Jose Ramirez and Jimmy Haslam? Are you taking number 4 in between Andrew Berry and Evan Mobley? Are you taking number 5 in between former guest of the show, Katie Moon, or former and new Cleveland Guardian, Carlos Santana? Are you taking number 6 in between Darius Garland and Jerry Jeudy? Are you taking number 7 between manager Stephen Vogt of the Guardians and Cavs owner Dan Gilbert? Are you taking number 8 between Deshaun Watson and Shane Bieber? Number 9 in between your boy Paul DePodesta and Donovan Mitchell? Or are you taking number 10 in between Nick Chubb and Cavs coach Kenny Atkinson? If you had to pick one, now I posted this on social media, and my mistake, I put Donovan Mitchell and Nick Chubb, in that seat. Most people pick 9, and so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, because that was too much of a popular choice. So I would say 75% of people pick that one. So if you had one of these seats to choose, 1 through 10, which one are you going with and why?
All right, I'm going with 3.
Okay.
All right, talk a little business with one guy.
So Jimmy Haslam,
yeah,
you got on your right, and Jose Ramirez, you got on your left.
So I can talk some business. I can throw some of my, my insights on how he should do some operations and truly piss him off. Once he's so pissed off at me, then I can turn to a Cleveland great and talk about reminiscing about.
Now, can you speak Spanish? Jose Ramirez only speaks Spanish, at least by my knowledge.
You know what? I'll learn some Spanish.
Okay.
If I know going into this, I'm sitting next to Jose, I'll learn some Spanish. Okay.
All right. So let me, that's a good choice. I like it. What seat would you not want to sit in if you could choose? So you are the first person on the plane. So you're looking and you're kind of eyeing, there's 20 people on the plane. You're like, okay, I got all these seats to choose from. Which one are you not sitting in?
8, 100%. I am not. Unless I need a handy, I'm not sitting in 8.
Yeah, I don't think Deshaun
or
Watson.
willing to give a handy.
Now, Shane Bieber is an incredibly popular player. And the reason I did this was because I think a lot of the women like Shane Bieber, but they wouldn't want to sit next to Deshaun Watson. So that's kind of why I did that one that way. But yeah, it's an interesting social experiment to see what people choose and why. So I'll repost this with the new seating assignments and see what people think. But Jimmy Haslam would be an interesting guy because he is not a fan favorite in Cleveland right now, but he is a great business person. And where you do have to give Jimmy Haslam credit for, he spends the most money of any NFL owner on his franchise. So
what are your answers you didn't share?
So, I would probably go. I would probably go number 2 because I'd be interested to know what Myles Garrett, thinks of what he, what he wants to do with, his future. And I'm not sure about Emmanuel Clase. I think he might only speak Spanish too. So if I needed a nap and take a nap on the plane, I could sleep but maybe talk to Myles Garrett a little bit. But you're also sitting next to the best closer in baseball. My second answer, I think.
And this is the one you would not want to sit next
to. No. Well, no, sorry. Let me say my second choice, I think, would be seat number 10 because I love Nick Chubb. And unfortunately, I think he's going to not be on the Cleveland Browns next year. But Kenny Atkinson, my love of basketball and just what he has done for this Cavs team is amazing. And so I'd like to pick his brain a little bit on that stuff. So where I would also probably go number 8 of where I do not want to sit just because, Deshaun, I don't know.
If you get a total poll, I'd like to see where everybody landed and what nobody picked whatsoever. Does everybody hate Dan Gilbert? Does everybody hate Deshaun Watson?
Dan Gilbert has become pretty well thought of in Cleveland because I think if you're ranking the Cleveland ownerships, you got to say, the Dolans, and I know the main Dolan passed away recently, so I don't want to talk too badly of the Dolans, but the Dolans have, I would say, the most stable franchise over the past 15 years. But the Cavs have had the most successful. They're the only one with a championship. Dan Gilbert has, set the team up for success. He spends a lot of money on not just the team, but like the infrastructure of the Cavs, and has invested heavily in the city of Cleveland. So if I'm ranking hierarchy of owners, it's the Cavs, the Guardians, and then the Browns, even if the spending might not necessarily line up with the way that is.
But there was a time when Dan Gilbert was not a popular dude. The LeBron James
Oh,
era,
yeah.
when he went
Oh,
to
yeah.
Miami, and
Yeah.
after
2011,
not good.
And the Cavs had some really dark years there.
Yes,
they did, but they are a team of maybe destiny this year, but they've been nothing but fun to watch over the last like 3 years, especially. But again, you put the right people in place, success generally follows. So it might take some time, but generally get it done. All right, let's get to this bracket, and then we'll wrap it up. So each week of March, I want to put together like some sort of bracket that would be kind of fun to talk about. So this week we're going to do the coolest high school, or weirdest or strangest, whatever you want to call it, high school mascots. We're going to do 16 of them, and then I put it together in a bracket. But I'm going to give you a little bit of just who they are and where they're from. So let's start with the Ohio schools. So from Cleveland, Ohio, the Cleveland Adams Executives, and that's their mascot. It's kind of a knight, named after the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize, Jane Addams. These executives mean business. So that's the first one. Shenandoah High School, home of the Zeps, which if you know what a Zephyr is, it's kind of the big like hot air balloon. Duncan Falls, Ohio, the Philo Electrics. I thought that was kind of just a cool mascot. And then here's an interesting one. Cleveland, Ohio again, home of the Tar Blooders out of Glenville High School. It is a school battle cry that started during the 1940s, indicating that members of the Glenville athletic teams would whack the tar and blood from their opponents. Thus, the colors are red and black of the school. Pretty intimidating.
Dark.
That is dark and intimidating. Lyndhurst, Ohio, home of the arcs. So inventor Charles F. Brush was the inventor of the arc lamp. Thus, the arcs are their nickname. I thought that was kind of cool. And I like their mascots too. All right, now we're going to go to Michigan. Watersmeet, Michigan, home of the Nimrods. So Nimrods is kind of a negative connotation, but it's like a biblical type thing as well. So home of the Nimrods. Bessemer, Michigan, home of the Speed Boys. And I believe the girls' teams are the Speed Girls as well. Kind of different, kind of cool. Let's go to Zeeland, Michigan, home of the Chicks. So, different. Northeast, now we're going to Indiana. Northeast Dubai High School in Indiana, home of the Jeeps. So that's a look at their mascot there. I don't really know what a Jeep is. I think that goes back to like old cartoon type stuff with like maybe even like the Popeye era. Like, I don't know. So we'll have to look into that maybe. The Frankfort, Indiana, home of the hot dogs. But it's kind of like a fierce little dog, like a little wiener dog is their mascot. I like this one a lot. I thought you might too. The Speedway High School. I'm guessing this is somewhere outside of Indianapolis, home of the Spark Plugs. And that's a pretty cool mascot there. And then Polka, West Virginia, home of the Polka High Dots, the Polka Dots. So that is a look. Oh, there's a couple more. Sorry, forgot a few more. Joe, if off screen, just shook his head. So wasn't a fan of that one. Williamsport, where home of the Little League World Series. They're home of the Millionaires, their high school. Kind of a cool name there. Northampton County, Pennsylvania, home of the Concrete Kids. And I don't really have a good backstory on that, but they're building their educational foundation
through Minecraft, obviously.
Apparently, yeah. Their mascot's a little different there. And then Horsham, Pennsylvania, home of the Hatboro Mad Hatters. And then finally, the Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, home of the Bubblers. So Boiling Springs Bubblers. So here's our bracket.
Oh my goodness.
Here's our bracket. And I put them into groups of 4. So we're just going to advance to a final 4 out of these. So you got the Philo Electrics. You got the Northeast Dubai Jeeps, the Millionaires, and the Speed Boys or Speed Girls out of Michigan. So out of those 4, which one would you advance as the most interesting or coolest or different or weirdest, whatever you want to
I'm going with the
label it.
millionaires.
The millionaires is kind of
Pompous
cool.
as shit. So
Okay.
yeah,
All
take
right.
it.
All right. I don't really have a good answer for that one. So let's go with the millionaires on that one. All right. The bottom left bracket, the Lyndhurst Arcs, the Polka Dots, the Cleveland Adams Executives, or the Frankfurt Hot Dogs. Which one are you going with there?
All right. I'm down to 2. So the little superhero guy and the wiener dog. So let's kind of conspire here. Which do you think deserves it?
I like the Lyndhurst Arcs because it's going after an inventor, and it's kind of saying like, let's pay some homage to someone that's done a lot, and it's from the Cleveland area. So I kind of like that.
All right, let's do the Arcs.
All right, so we're gonna go with so far we're in the Millionaire and the Arcs. All right, the right side of the bracket, the Zealand Chicks out of Michigan, Shenandoah Zeps, which apparently in that town they're called the Zeps because a Zephyr actually crashed in their town, like back in the 20s. The Waters Meet, Nimrods, or the Concrete Kids. So out of those 4,
I'm going Minecraft.
Minecraft, you're going Concrete Kids? I'm not going to disagree with you. It's so weird and so different that we're going with that. All right. And then our final team that will make our final 4, we got the Spark Plugs out of Indiana, the Mad Hatters out of Pennsylvania, the Bubblers out of Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, and the Tarblooders out of Ohio.
Spark Plugs.
The Spark Plugs are so cool. And to me, I think that also, like, I would narrow that down to the Tarblooders. Again, another Cleveland school, or the Spark Plugs, but the Spark Plugs are so different and unique. So let's go Spark Plugs.
We don't need that violence in schools. Like if somebody bloodied and tarred somebody, they'd be like, your freaking mascot is that. That one's going away anyway. So Spark Plugs goes on.
All right. So we got the final 4. Spark Plugs, Concrete Kids, we got the Arcs, and we got the Millionaires. So, So who do you got out of the Millionaires or the Arcs?
I'm going Millionaires again.
All right. So Joe's going Williamsport Millionaires for Pennsylvania, advances to the finals. And then we have the Spark Plugs versus the Concrete Kids.
I got to go Spark Plugs.
All right. I like Spark Plugs too, just because, I mean, the Concrete Kids are so different and weird, but Spark Plugs is just such a cool mascot. All right, so we got the Millionaires versus the Spark Plugs.
All right, I'm picturing like the Millionaires versus the blue collar high guy holding a wrench, and then that blue collar guy just pummeling the millionaire with the wrench. Spark Plugs all the way.
Okay. And let's just think too, those Millionaires cars don't work without Spark Plugs.
That's it.
So yeah. All right.
I
think Spark Plugs are going to be our champion in this bracket. I like that. So something a little different. I thought that might be kind of fun for
those were really stupid. I have to tell you.
Those were
you watch a movie and they like spoof on high school and they come up with the most outrageous mascots for that high school.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all spoof schools that you just handed me.
I agree. No disagreement here.
Like the Huron Camel Toes or something like that. You know what I mean?
Those are all real high schools, though. All legit.
I know, but it could be a spoof school.
Now, I got some even weirder ones coming up that we can do at a future podcast. So, all right. So the Spark Plugs are our champions. Out of outside
unanimous.
Of Indianapolis.
Like we didn't disagree.
No, I think that was great. All right. Let's go. We have time. Let's go 5 more minutes here. Today in communism. These are going to be weird stories around the globe. So today in communism, a Chinese company gave out bonuses by laying 8 million. I don't know if that's what their currency is. 8 million on a table and having employees grab it. Now, Joe, I mean, you own a smaller company or companies. Now, if you were handing out employee bonuses, the polite and tactical way would be to just either add it to their paycheck or maybe they get us another check or whatever. But if you own one of these larger companies, and I don't know what company this is, let's say, I don't want to say any company names, not to get them in trouble, but to lay out $8 million, are you doing this? Almost has Squid Games written all over it. Like people are going to be fighting to the death. So thoughts on just laying out 8 million?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like take the 8 million, put it in the middle and put weapons all around in a circle. line everybody up around, and like not you get to do two things.
Yeah.
You get more money to individual people that are your strongest and brightest, and you eliminate some liability and some expenses in maybe the weaker ones anyhow.
Maybe the company is called Darwin. You know,
yes,
the Darwin Institute of Chinese Technology.
That picture did remind me of Willy Wonka.
Yes,
and
the chocolate bars.
Yes,
yeah.
With the whole factory open and tickets.
When I saw that today, and I get these emails of like daily weird news and stuff. That was the first thing I thought of was the Willy Wonka chocolate bars too. Yep. And was it Veruca Salt? Her dad, or no? Yeah, I think it was Veruca Salt. It's like keep opening those so we can get the golden ticket. So
the whole time I'm thinking like, look at the production loss while you're having your workers open these freaking tickets.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah, and that's a lot of money left on the table, and no pun intended. All right. A report: Travis Kelce. Taylor Swift report. People close to Taylor Swift are telling her to dump Travis Kelce to protect her brand. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but after she got booed at the Super Bowl, if you were in Taylor, and I know you're not in Taylor Swift's camp, but if you were in Taylor Swift's camp, what would your move be? Stick with Travis, he helps your brand, or get rid of Travis, he hurts your brand?
It's going to be a dumpster fire in the end. I mean, if you romance a porcupine, you're going to get stuck, right?
Sure.
So no tongue kissing. I mean, if you took advantage of the high highs of romancing an NFL star when he was doing really well, like that's going to bite you. So
he pursued her though.
I know. Yeah. It's a weird mismatch. So if they're happy, go out of the limelight. The fans are going to turn on you.
I agree.
The fans are whatever. Tune it out. Go live your life if that's what you're going to do.
I think that's probably the way.
But if they accept it and embrace and tempt more public scrutiny, and this is what you're going to get.
The only thing to push back to that, in the world we live in today, there's really no hiding a relationship if you're a celebrity. So it's either like, you're out there, and there's Twitter, Instagram, every other, social media platform that's following TMZ that's following them around. So
and they're taking advantage of every minute of that attention.
I think you're right on that too.
But it's getting boring. There's no new drama. So of course those people are going to have to weave in some other things to pay attention to.
And I think this is the last year of his career. So we'll see where it goes from there. All right. And finally, it's starting. We've all seen these movies. The robots take over. AI takes over. A software glitch caused by a humanoid robot to aggressively lunge at an audience member during a festival in China. Thoughts?
Did you see it? Did you know the rest of the story?
I did not.
Okay, so they have these demonstration robots that are around the perimeter of the security gate.
Okay.
And the robot actually stumbled and started to fall. And part of its program is to then right itself, and it used jerky motions to be able to take its gravity upward. And it looked like it was taking shots at somebody, like it had to be restrained and it was going aggressive. It really wasn't that. So you might fall. And I noticed this in my car every once in a while. It'll see a car that stops and it hits the brakes, and it has no consideration that there's a human body in this seatbelt, and it brakes way too much. So it's not going to have sort of the understanding that it's going to be delicate with the human beings.
It's learning on the job.
For sure.
And then it'll realize like, oh, if I decelerate or slow down or whatever, like it won't herky jerk
it doesn't take people into consideration.
And why would it? It's a robot.
Let's just say that it was deeper into the crowd and it stumbled over the gate and started thrashing around and bashing people's skull in, and there's blood everywhere. Brains are leaking out the side of people's heads. It's a different narrative. It's a different story at that point.
Okay.
It'd be harder to defend.
No doubt. No doubt.
Do you want robots? Like,
yes and no. Like, yes, for the betterment I think they would put into the world, production, technology, all that stuff, like the ease and simplicity of life. But I also have seen The Terminator. I have also seen these other movies where I Robot, where it's like, I know the ending to the story, and it's like, maybe if we keep relying on these robots, then we become like obsolete too. I don't know.
All right, so there's a robot that's guarding the field, and a streaker decides to jump out and do it. A human being is just going to chase them around. It's going to look like a old Benny Hill thing. You put your own music.
They get tired.
But a robot doesn't give two shits. It'll bring out the laser beams and like blast you or dismember you. I mean, it can do all kind of crazy stuff to protect the field.
Yeah, it's when you streak, there's going to be consequences. But
people won't streak if they know they're going to get blasted by a laser.
Will that laser be like just kind of like a stun gun, like a taser?
Well, the movies when it hits you,
or are we like
evaporate, like
incinerating people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to each their own. That I guarantee someone won't be streaking at the next game. Either. So okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. That's kind of what we talked about a little bit today, all over the board. Once again, we're gonna have a lot more topics on our next show. But for Joe, I'm Justin. We appreciate you watching the 330 Sports Show on Youngstown Studio. Enjoy your day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.